Several months ago, we reported on problems with the ferry between Wolfe Island and the city of Kingston, Ontario. It's the only way to get from the city to the island. And island residents were waiting for hours to get home. Sometimes they were stuck in Kingston overnight. Well, Kingston is having another transportation infrastructure problem now. A key bridge into the city has been closed for 2 months. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from the St. Lawrence County Community Development Program, now accepting applications for the Head Start program to prepare children ages 3 to 5 for school, online at slccdp.org/head-start.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Tuesday, May 28th. Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. First up, New York State lawmakers have a week left to complete their work for 2024. A number of key initiatives, including social media regulation and climate change legislation, might be left on the table. Karen DeWitt reports for the New York Public News Network.
Governor Kathy Hochul says as the session draws to a close, she's focused on achieving just one thing, regulating social media companies, which she says are harming children through addictive algorithms and by harvesting their personal data.
These toxic influences can be absolutely devastating. And now we have a mountain of data that confirms what many of us have known all along intuitively, that social media is hurting our kids. Last year, the United States Surgeon General announced that teens who use social media more than 3 hours a day face double the risk of depression and anxiety symptoms.
One of the two bills that would address those concerns is the SAFE Act for Kids. It would restrict companies from using algorithms on minors' social media feeds without parental consent. The Child Data Protection Act would ban online platforms from collecting and sharing children's personal data. There are currently not enough votes in the Senate and Assembly for the bills to pass, though, and big tech companies are lobbying hard against them. The governor says she's already achieved most of her agenda in the state budget, which was passed in early May. She says she won't be advocating for any other items, though she says she's open to talking about them with the legislature. Environmentalists, meanwhile, are pushing for several bills. They include expanding the bottle law by doubling the deposit to 10 cents and adding wine in hard cider containers. They also want to end the practice of allowing utilities to charge ratepayers for installing new gas lines, known as the New York Heat Act. A third measure would reduce plastic packaging by 50% over a dozen years. The plastics bill has advanced in the Assembly, but it's stalled in the state Senate. Advocates in favor of the bill demonstrated recently near Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins' district office in Yonkers.
Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, we urge you to put people over plastics.
The Senate has approved the HEAT Act, though, while the Assembly has not. Both houses are led by Democrats. There's also support for a bill that would close what's known as the Weinstein loophole. In April, the state's highest court, the Court of Appeals, overturned the rape conviction of former movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. It ruled that the prosecution improperly allowed testimony from other women about Weinstein's alleged bad behavior, even though those accusations did not lead to charges against him. The bill's sponsor, Deputy Senate Majority Leader Mike Gianaris, says federal law already permits the practice and New York state law needs to change. He spoke on the Senate floor as the bill to fix the loophole was approved.
What we're doing today is dealing with an ongoing injustice in our criminal legal system.
The bill faces blowback from criminal defense attorneys. The Legal Aid Society says the measure is overly broad and could lead to wrongful convictions. The bill is stalled in the state assembly. The session is set to end June 6th, but lawmakers could stay a few days longer if they believe that agreements on any of the items are close. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt for the New York Public News Network.
One of the main bridges into the city of Kingston, Ontario, has been closed for nearly 2 months. The bridge, known as the LaSalle Causeway, was damaged during a construction project. The closure has not only affected traffic into Kingston, but it's also blocked major tour boats from leaving the harbor. Elliot Ferguson has been covering the issue for the Kingston Whig Standard and spoke with Emily Russell.
The LaSalle Causeway connects the east side of Kingston to the west side. It's a crossing that consists of a fixed bridge, a causeway portion, and there's also what's called a bascule bridge, which is a relatively rare design of bridge that involves a massive concrete counterweight that lifts the bridge, kind of like a drawbridge.
What do we know about how the bridge was damaged and what's needed to fix it?
Well, being a bridge that's over 100 years old, obviously it requires maintenance. And in March, there was some maintenance being done. There was a renovation being done on the bridge. And from what I understand, a portion of the bridge was damaged badly enough that it had to be closed to all traffic. It couldn't be raised to let boats through, and pedestrians, cyclists, motor vehicles were not allowed to use the bridge. It was shut down completely, which isn't great because that is one of 4 crossings over the Rideau River that connects the city's two halves. So obviously for commuters and for the downtown businesses, it's an important link to get people in and out of the downtown.
And behind the bridge in the harbor, there are some big tour boats that are now stuck back there. So what have those tour boat operators been saying the impact of this bridge closure has been on them?
Yes, there are several businesses in a portion of the river called the Inner Harbor. Probably the most prominent ones are a pair of tour companies that operate large tour boats through the summer season. Their season usually starts on Victoria Day weekend. These tour boats, they travel up and down the St. Lawrence and sort of the eastern waters of Lake Ontario. It's a big tourist attraction. And during the winter, they winter in at the Kingston Marina, and then in the spring they go through under the Bascule Bridge and out into the lake. With the bridge out of commission, they're stranded. They're stuck in the Inner Harbor, and obviously, if the boats can't sail, those companies aren't making any money.
What's your sense of how this bridge closure is affecting the greater Kingston economy? Like, are the effects tangible there right now?
I think they are. If you ask the tourism people the tourism officials, they'll say yes. They monitor things like pedestrian traffic, and they've noticed a decline because the LaSalle Causeway is a convenient link. It puts places like the Royal Military College and CFB Kingston within walking or cycling distance of the downtown. Now, the bridge was opened to cyclists and pedestrians, so that's some good news. But yes, the Kingston economy is suffering. One of the tour operators that I spoke to did say that he's hearing from international tour companies that are saying with the cancellation of their cruises, they're not only sort of canceling that portion of their visit, they're canceling their entire visits to Kingston. So he said, we're getting those calls once a week. Soon it's going to be, several times a week, and then it's going to be like every day we're going to be getting calls saying we're canceling tour trips. So there is potential that this could get quite expensive for the Kingston economy.
And what's the timeline for full repair of the bridge and reopening it to car traffic?
In mid-April, they had said that it would take between 8 and 10 weeks to repair the bridge. They've revised that timeline to between 7 and 9 weeks. But still, you're looking at 2.5 months of the prime tour season that basically those boats will not be operating. So yes, there is concern that this will have an economic impact, which is not great because a lot of the downtown businesses are still recovering from the pandemic. And so having this as an additional burden is not good.
That was reporter Elliot Ferguson from the Kingston Whig Standard speaking with Emily Russell. Late last week, one of the tour boats was able to narrowly pass under a fixed portion of the bridge, though at least 4 more cruise ships are still stuck in the harbor. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Evan Veenstra of Gananoque and David Archibald of Kingston, both, of course, in Ontario. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.